Laurie here again. We've got an Athern blue box loco. This is a deceased estate and I'm just fixing it up to try and get some money for the chap's wife, a little bit more money. It's got a machinima in it that he's put in it, but it doesn't run that well because of the pickups, and this is so much of a problem with so many people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show how I put extra pickups onto this, so we pick up from this rail, that rail. We're not using the body and the other. So I'm going to pull these trucks off and I'm going to put extra wipers on, and I'll share that with you. Okay, so I've levered these caps off, pulled out the worm wheel on each end. I've now got the trucks out. The important part that I'm looking at here, if you see the rivet or whatever it is, the clamp that's holding the pickup plate on, that's where I'm going to end up soldering the wires to. That one may be okay, but certainly on the other side, that's brass. You can see that there. I'll come in a little bit closer. Don't know how my camera's going to go. We'll see. Okay, they're brass. So if I lightly file and sand that to take off any oxidization, I'll go and put some flux on it and then I'll tin it. So every time you're soldering, of course, you need to tin the two parts before you put them together. So I'll tin that, I'll put wire on there, so I've got that rail pickup, and then I'll use that for that rail pickup. The important thing is I'm actually adding a wire onto this rather than using this going through the body to pick up the left hand rail. So I'm going to make this much more reliable. I could also put wipers in here against the back of these wheels, but there's not a lot of room, so I'll see how I go. To get rid of all the old grease out of there, I'm going to use this CRC contact electronic cleaner and flush it out. We'll just put the camera down here somewhere. Hopefully that'll stay there, and we're just going to wash all the grease out. Get a run. That's not too bad actually. So that's ready, that's clean. So we've cleaned all that off in any case. I've cleaned these brass rivets on there on both sides. I've even used a Dremel tool just to cleaning some of that up. So I'll use a little bit of liquid flux. I'll put some liquid flux on. I'll put it on both and see how I go. That side's already got the connection to it there, but I'll tin these in any case, in case I want to put extra wipers on, and I'll show you that. And I've got the soldering iron set up here now, and I'll clean the tip so I've got fresh solder on. And we'll tin these brass . Yep. Yeah, takes a little bit. Yep. So they're tinned. So I can now put a wire onto that. So I'm now going to be picking up the power from that side. The other side, of course, has got the connection. So I've cut a wire off about 4 inches of wire. I've got the solder here. Keep the tip clean, and we tin the wire. So we've got both tinned. I'll try this one here. So we just use fingers. Just leave it there to make sure I get it solder. Okay. So now that's not coming off. That's how easy it is to get a reliable other side pickup rather than running on the body, where it means it's got to come from the rail into the wheel through the brass bearing, into that plate, through the rivet, and into that plate and into the body of the loco. Too many steps that don't have a decent contact electrical connection. Now we've got a better connection there. Now, just to go a little bit further, I've got some Tichy Trains 12.5 thou phosphor bronze wire. So I've cut a piece off here, and I'm going to put it onto there so that it's going to rub onto the wheel. So again, just need to tin it. I'll put a bit of flux on it there to get a good grip. We tin it, and I'll put it on there. We trim it off afterwards, it's too long. Working with the camera there's a bit difficult, but anyhow. There we go. I've now got a wiper on the wheel as a little bit extra pickup. Now I could put another one off this side here, but I need to tension that, so I need to take that wheel out to pull that wire down, then put the wheel back on so that it's actually tensioning on there. So I'll do that. Okay, so I've taken the cover off. I can pull this wheel out and get keep it the right way. Now I bend that wire down so that I know it's going to be touching the wheel, and I can now put that back in again. And I know that I've got that rubbing on the wheel. While I've got that apart, I'm going to throw some label Teflon grease in here. I'll just pause the camera. So you can see the grease I put in there. You don't over grease it, otherwise you're going to have too much drag on the gearing. So that's just enough there now. I'll put the cover back on. Okay, we've got the cover back on. Now I just need to cut that wire off a little bit past the wheel, and you won't really see that. Now I've got an extra wiper in there, and I've got the wire to the other pickup. That's not hard to do. A few minutes and you can get better reliability of pickup. Like I said, problem is you've got to go from the rail into the wheel, from the wheel through the brass bearing, from the brass bearing into this steel metal plate, from the steel metal plate into the brass rivet, and then into this plate here that rubs on the body. So there's no soldered contact at all to get into the actual body of the loco, where that connection is there that somebody put on there previously. So now I can get rid of that, which is to the negative, positive and negative on the DC motor, and then I'll run that through the decoder, straight from here up to the decoder, the black and the red, and then the orange and the grey out to the motor when I put a decoder in. So I hope this is helpful to people. Alright, one more step. This stuff I love. I know Joe Fugate on the Model Railroad Hobbyist has got a green can of this. I can't get it in Australia, but 226 dispels moisture, penetrates and lubricates. I put that on all my pickups, on my track, everywhere. It stops oxidization. Now what am I going to use with? I've got a film canister there that I've put some in, dipped a little brush in it there, and I'll put the camera down here, get that out of that way. Down in there on the back of the wheel and onto the bearings. It's a lubricant as well, but the important part, it stops oxidization and keeps this stuff clean, with electrically enhances the capability of the current to be able to run through the rails, put on the wheels as well. Will not hurt, adds extra pickup. Do that. So I put some in there. I've been reasonably generous without it being runny. So putting that in there makes a huge difference. I'll just show you what I'm doing. I'm using a diamond file here. That's not too bad. So we get that and that one. Now I've just cleaned up both of those little rivets. Here's another thing. That rivet is turning. So that's not holding in there very well. That's not really good. That one is. That's firm, it's not spinning, but that one's turning. So again, it's not a really good joint onto the plate. So we'll use this back one that's not turning. Okay, what I've done with the wire this time, soldered on there, I've actually put it round to the back of the wheel. So I'm rubbing on the back of the wheel. So when that's turning, it's wiping on the back of the wheel. So I've still got electrical pickup, and I've soldered that, so that stopped that turning. Now we just need to put some grease in it like the other one. When you're putting these back together here with the worm wheel, I've cleaned the worm wheel off, got all the old grease out of it there, but you've got to be careful with the bearing, square bearings either end. In between the bearing and the worm wheel there's little thrust washers either end. So just be careful that you don't lose those. The other part of it there is we oil it. So we put some oil in there onto the bearings. Very important. While I'm at it, I'll put one drop up here on the motor bearing, each end, very sparingly, and that's now right. I could put some more grease on there, but it doesn't need it. You don't over grease or over lubricate. One of the worst things you can do. Just drags on the motor. We can put the cover back on, and that's now that end done. We'll do the other end, and then we'll put the decoder in. Here's a different truck. I've taken the side off. You can see that the brass has oxidized, discoloured, and that. So the pickup is just reliant from the rail through the wheel, and then up and rubbing, hopefully rubbing best it can into the brass, and then there's the wire off to the brass that's going to go to the decoder. That's not a really successful way of doing things. There's room here that I can solder a wire onto the wheel or onto the back of the wheel, and I'll use a piece of circuit board in there. I can glue that onto there and put a wiper on there and then connect it to the wire. There's all sorts of ways that you can add extra pickups rather than just relying on that rubbing there. That's not going to be real good. Okay, you can see I've now put 12.5 thou phosphor bronze wire on, and I've soldered that in between where the locating places are. So those wipers are going to rub on the back of the wheel, which is all metal, so that'll be a much better pickup than trying to get it from the bearings. But I'll have it from the bearings and from the wiper as well. So this side here is going to be pretty good at picking up electrical power from the track. There it is. There's the wipers now added to rubbing onto the back of the wheels. That wasn't hard to fit on. I've removed the push plastic fitting, and I'll solder a wire on there rather than relying on a wire just rubbing onto that connector. So we'll have a soldered wire going from there up, which would be much more reliable. But putting wipers onto the back of the wheel, which is all metal, that's going to be wiping all the time. I've never had phosphor bronze wear out on any of my locos that I've done this to. So all you need to do is make sure you've got tension on the wire here, and that wire's got enough tension, so that length that I'm running there has got enough springing in it when the wheels move and go around curves, etc. So there you go, we've now soldered the wire on there. So we've got this wire here now that's coming off it there with a reliable solder joint rather than just rubbing up against and hoping for no oxidisation. So there you go. Alright, we're on the track, we'll give it a run, see what happens. Run over a few turnouts. It needs a good run in to get the wipers to work a bit better, but everything looks pretty good there so far. Just got to watch where we're going.